welcome back to Mexico for the Verizon post-game interview here with Upset. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to the studio. You guys were playing remotely yesterday. How does it feel to be on stage? And also, how do you reflect on the results so far? 3-0 in play-ins.
Yeah, it feels good to play on stage always. I think it's always a different experience and it makes the games kind of more hype, I think, so it's cool. Our performance so far has been quite good considering we couldn't practice so much, or not at all, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's best of ones, so it's really volatile and it can go up really well and then it can also go down fast. So we have to like really keep looking at our mistakes, especially this game. We did a lot of bad things in the early game that cost us a lot, but Marek really had an amazing game on LeBlanc, so he carried us. But yeah, I'm happy that we are winning the games, but we have to improve a lot for sure.
Anything you can tell me maybe about the mistakes you've been making in the early game today?
I think we were not on the same page in these moments. Usually when someone dies, when he's surrounded by a lot of enemies, it must mean that he had a different idea than other people in the team. Or they like caught you out because you didn't expect them to be there. So I think in the bot side river they caught like Hilly and Ivan because they did some good things as well. So yeah, we have to work on that. Yeah,
you know what's going on, so I guess you're on the path for success and everything. I mean, you said it yourself. Everything hasn't been easy for Fnatic. COVID at first, having a sub as a support, no scrims really. And then you come up on the first day of play-in, pentakill, refuses to elaborate. Tell me about your form and how it's been going so far, and how do you expect so much success, given the fact that you have not been able to train the way you should have?
Yeah, I think I was still like trying to keep my individual form up, and our team, I think, is not... Our biggest strength is not our team play ever. I think it's usually just that we are strong individually, and we have some decent team things as well, but mostly it's our individual strengths. So luckily that still translates, even if you can't practice so much as a team. I was still playing solo queue when I was feeling well enough. So I felt still confident to do well myself.
I can imagine. I mean, Fnatic's going to look like a different beast, hopefully, as the tournament goes. Upset, I have to ask, it's your first time at Worlds. I know you've been waiting for so long for this tournament. Anything you're excited about in particular for this time?
Yeah, I mean, last year was so terrible for me, everything. So now I'm just here. I'm really happy that I'm here with my wife and that we can have this experience together. And that's my first time with her. It's really amazing. And yeah, I'm just happy about that.
Enjoy the wife buff and welcome to Worlds. Thank you so much, Upset, for the interview. And back to you guys in LA.
My name is Jojopyun, and I'm the mid laner for Evil Geniuses. Yeah, this is my first time at Worlds. I'm really excited to be able to play, especially in NA. It feels good that the team made it to Worlds. I expected us anyways to make it to Worlds, but it was way harder than I thought. And obviously the best teams are coming here, so we'll be able to play the best teams. So we'll get to learn a lot from that too, and I think we'll be able to play well. I enjoy the competition the most, just being able to compete, especially when it's like a high stake. So I would say that's the most fun thing for me. MSI was just a warm-up, now it's time for the real show.
It is time for the real show. I'm still waiting for Evil Geniuses to arrive at Worlds 2022.
Hey!
They're taking on Loud in just a moment, and these are two teams with very different feelings after yesterday's game. So I was looking at my analysts and I thought, who could I ask to explain to me what happened yesterday? So, Raz, do break it down.
I did not know. Okay, I'm coming back, and it might be with a backhand. But anyways, yes, it was a really tough game. This is the one that it didn't really feel like Evil Geniuses had any window. But earlier on in this game, before the 8-minute mark, there was a 1K goal lead. It was there. There was a 30 CS advantage that was presenting itself in the bot lane. The problem was the comical mistakes that were happening throughout the mid lane. The mid lane jungle synergy between Jojo and Inspired were starting to falter. They get sent back. That one was one tear that was coming down my eye. There was the other one where Renekton, of course, getting picked off. I mean, he used an ulti trying to get on top of him. I was sad on that one. It was not fine. I was not okay. Okay, get this out. I was not doing well. And then immediately after that one, Vulcan gets engaged on, gets destroyed. This was all from like 8:30 to like 10. So that 8-minute mark that I was talking about where they had a 1K goal lead. I don't want this one either. So that was sad.
Now, admittedly, the intro was particularly harsh, but I think for a team like Evil Geniuses, for a player like Jojo, who are very willing to throw down, to be outspoken, I love it. It gives us great entertainment.
Yes.
And what I really like is in the interview, after a defeat, because Fnatic members were not, on stage, not playing, what a fantastic interview. Really great discussion to have there. What do you want to see in terms of the play style? Because what we're looking at in terms of the clips is trying to look at Jojo roaming.
Yeah, Jojo, coming off of MSI, talked about how all of the legendary mid laners like Xiaohu and FLICKR in the interview that we had during the regular split were just amazing and selfless players. They roamed a lot. They found opportunities across the map. Guess what? We get to see the same thing from tinowns. That's what he was really good at for Loud, finding ways to get top lane into the game. So I feel like we're going to be seeing both of these mid laners try and wrestle control from each other and make impact elsewhere.
And I think it's really important as well, looking at Loud specifically, what are we going to see for Brance? Because I don't want to see the Seraphine anymore. Stay away from that. Stay away from enchanters.
Yes.
Try to find something that can really enable this guy, because regardless of whether or not it actually works, because we've seen LLL is definitely a volatile team, right? Either it looks great or it looks not so great. Make sure that he has the room to actually carry.
Now, of course, for Loud, they win their last game of the day. They were defeated in the first game. As the players are setting up on stage, we have some additional time so we can actually expand on this a little bit. I had a lot of fun with Rob's day, with Robo up in the top lane. Pretty much did nothing game one. Game two absolutely took over. But to be fair, all of Loud really stepped up. That bounce back, the slight change up in the draft, is that momentum going to play into their favor? Because I still expect them to be the underdog today against EG.
They're for sure the underdogs. I think they will look better based off of... I thought they had a really good read on the draft and the meta, and I think they'll continue to play picks like the Hecarim, like the Seraphine. I think the Seraphine is still a strong thing that needs to be banned against them. Sure, it might not be what you're liking here, Croc.
Okay. Before we move on to the next replay, I want to talk a little bit more about Brunch. Talk to me about the player as an individual.
No, I want to talk about the Seraphine, because I know that in LCS, Seraphine is this great thing. I used to be on the Seraphine hype train as well, but these games are messy. You need more firepower.
Look, you may not have been playing.
Now continue. So that's point one. Point two, talk about the player.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I really wanna see from Loud in the draft give some priority over to make sure that Brance has a pick that he can pop off on that isn't a scaling enchanter that admittedly is very good in mid to late game teamfights. No, I want mayhem.
Okay, when you add the personality in the player, Brance is for sure the type of person that wants to be on the Kaisa, that wants to be the type of person who is blowing up and not having that skill expression where...
Raz, I just think we happen to have some clips of in Champions Queue.
Okay.
Let's check them out.
Let's roll the footage.
Okay, so we don't actually have his voice on this one. I was expecting it. I was expecting that.
Dang.
I love
There
you,
we go.
I love you, man.
Thank you. I love you too. I love you too.
Yeah, it's me.
This is my favorite part.
It's me, bro. It's me, bro. It's me, caralho. Vem, porra. Vamos, caralho. Vem, porra. Base, porra.
Raz, are you able to translate that at all?
I don't think I want to.
Okay. What I'm seeing is a lot of passion, a lot of firepower. I'm not seeing a lot of Seraphine though, Chronicler. So I think you're right.
That's good.
Yeah,
that is a good thing.
And that's the angle I will agree with you on, okay? If we're talking about that kind of showmanship and that excitement that Brance wants, it's going to be on Kaisa, Kalista, fine, you can have
So why
that.
you want Seraphine then, Rez?
Because the big brain, wine-swiggling type connoisseur
do you know what I love about
Seraphine.
Oh, Raz, man, my man, you were just setting me up so well. Chronicler, can you get on Raz's level here? Because talking about big brain, wine, or whiskey swilling. I've got a beautiful tweet here from Cloud9's Fudge, giving Loud credit. He says, the best team that they have scrimmed so far at Worlds. Now, not every team, or not every player and every statement that has come out has proven to be true. We've seen a few bold ones. But this is an interesting take. We've seen 1 day of games, 8, right? So there's still a lot to be figured out. And what if Loud take down EG?
Look, I don't trust Fudge. Fudge, he is an impression farmer. Take a look at those impressions. He's the type of person in general, just like, you know, he wants to see and troll people a lot. maybe he means best as in the most fun. Maybe that's the legal terms around that.
That is such a bold statement. I mean, he's basically calling Fudge a liar.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to put words in Brass's mouth.
Chronicler, what I will say, sorry to cut you off, we do need to get to predictions, right? So let's see. Fudge thinks Loud could be one of the strongest teams. So Chronicler, I want you to start here. Let's take a look at the MasterCard fan predictions first before we jump into them. Who do you think you're going to be voting for once we see
So help me
what
God.
the fans
If the fans
have
do us
said?
dirty like this.
Fan predictions.
What?
54-45.
Where's the 45 coming in from? Oh, the Brazilian fans, of course. Look, all I'm saying, I like the passion, but reality will hit hard.
Now, I did want Chronicler's prediction for this year.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go. Where do you start?
I have no horse in this race. I'm just a fan of Jojo and inspired. I want to see some firepower. I think EG is going to take it.
EG's going to take it. Raz, tell me if, I'm going to assume you're going to say EG.
Yes.
How do they pick up the win?
I don't even think I think that's a silly question. I think for me, it's going to be through bot lane, through mid lane.
Which one of these
through
teams
top
has a
lane.
win? It's Loud that has the win, so EG has to prove how they're going to do it.
I hate this. I do think Evil Geniuses have just a phenomenal MVP jungler that I know you appreciate and Inspired.
Used to. I'm married to Misfits.
Oh,
Both
my
my
goodness.
boyfriend and my wife work for the org, so Inspired broke my heart many times.
Fair.
I had nothing to add. I think Raz really sold it. But what I'm wondering is, what do you think, Quickshot?
Oh, come on, seriously? Do you really not know? Vamos, Brazil!
Oh, God.
Loud, of course, are going to pick this one up.
Wait, they gave you a prediction?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I support and believe the Fudge love and share passion, connecting.
So not
with
only
the
do you
CP
trust
LOL.
Fudge, but you also trust
Correct.
scrim tweets.
Correct. 100% the case. So I'm hoping the players are just about ready on stage. Production, let me know how much time we have left as we can see the EVGN is starting to set up. Yes, that's it. I got a prediction. Loud are going to take it. Mark Z, Pastry, over to you.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Unsurprisingly, Moxie, Trevor is pandering to the Brazilian fans once again.
Everyone
He
is,
did it
man.
yesterday. He's doing it again today.
It was on the analyst desk yesterday as well, even without Trevor. Everyone was like, my 90% prediction or my 50% prediction. You know, I was always trying to farm those impressions. Saw Fudge doing it. But I will say, a lot of people love to use like the transitive property early on in Worlds. We're like, well, this team beat that team and this team did this.
Therefore,
Fnatic are 3-0.
correct.
The worst game against them thus far was EG's game.
Yes.
Both DFM looked better. It's a little concerning that they have looked that bad. Chiefs looked better as well against Fnatic. You have Loud beating DFM. So
Soundly, I might add.
yeah, so obviously Loud is going to beat EG by transitive property. That's how a lot of the logic works early on in these tournaments.
Makes sense to me now. I think EG are the favorites in this matchup, but Loud are a threat. That's very true. Like this, I don't think this will be a particularly one-sided game. Maybe it will. Maybe EG have shaken off the one loss on day one. This is definitely a team that is going to take some time to scale up. It's a copium thing to say, but like EG have not always been a quick starting team. Let's put it that way.
I mean, so the real answer for me is about how that draft went for EG and then how the first 10 minutes went. It was a difficult draft to perform on, I think, where you have to kind of dominate early and keep that level of high tempo performance up. And when Vulcan, did the flash on the Lux, it's been talked about a lot. They kind of lost control of that game. Mid lane was not going super well. We've seen Humanoid gap everyone so far, though. So it might not translate exactly to Jojo versus tinowns. So we'll see it. I think for EG, you had a bad game. You can shake it off. This is a team that has a lot of resilience. They work well together. There were a lot of people also talking about like why draft Caitlyn for Kaori, given that he's the substitute for EG. But I thought they gave a very good answer about how, well, Upset is one of the biggest threats on Fnatic. They have their sub down there, so we're thinking they let Caitlyn through, we can try and slam this lane and control him the entire game. I actually kind of like that thought process, given that Caitlyn is almost 100% presence, only a single game not picked or banned in Worlds so far. So I don't dislike the bot lane strategy. I think it was maybe a little aggro with all three lanes going how they did with Viego as well. But, either way, I think there's a lot for them to learn from that game and bounce back. Still very early in group stage, only one game done. What's tinowns laughing at?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'm laughing at, because maybe it's the same thing. I just got one of the strongest updates I've ever received from production.
Oh boy.
So we have a small delay on stage. Don't panic, just a small delay.
I'm freaked.
Do you know why?
Jojo spilled water.
Very close. You identified the correct player. Inappropriate footwear.
He's wearing his Crocs.
He's wearing his Crocs.
Jojo! Look at him. You can see him pulling them off.
So he was like looking at like the ref, like looking there pointing, and I was like, oh, like maybe his audio's off.
I
Maybe
saw
with
someone
his
down near his PC. I thought they were doing something.
Yeah, me
with
too.
It's his
It's the shoes. All right, he's fixed them.
If people are not familiar, they have not watched North America. Jojo inspired. Crocs are taken over in North America, and I guess those are not legal. I think you need to have a back to your shoe, so any sort of sandal, open toe and open back, I think are.
So we just flipped him in a sport mode and he's good, yeah?
I don't think that counts.
I don't think so either. We'll have to, you know what, we'll dig deeper later on. For now, we have champ select here. Our second game of the day, EG back on stage looking for a win here up against Loud. Loud looking to continue some of the goodness they've shown us already, as we will shuffle on out for a moment. Perhaps we had a mishap. We'll find out.
So in the lobby chat, Vulcan, it was Loud who left the lobby for some reason, but Vulcan said, "Ref, they banned 2 mids." They can't ban mid, Jojo said.
Oh.
And then I guess Croc replies, "You guys banned our mids monitor." So it sounds like tinowns' computer having a little bit of an oopsie there. Hopefully we can get that fixed up quickly. So you can see a lot of people hovering behind the Loud side trying to diagnose whatever might be wrong. Loose cables.
Both mid laners in this game having different issues that are causing mild delays.
Yeah, Jojo's feet are going to overheat. tinowns' monitor overheating.
We'll see what happens as shuffle on. I will say, you know, whatever your opinion might be on Crocs, I don't necessarily have one formed just yet. Jojo's Crocs are a beautiful color, like a wonderful lavender. Very bold pastel purple. So I wonder what he's potentially switched out for, as we will get ourselves back into game as soon as things are resolved. Don't worry.
What do you think of the Ninja Turtles
I'm here for it.
jerseys?
Yeah. It's a throwback. I think it's...
I don't think they're actually Ninja Turtle jerseys.
No,
That's all I can think of when I see like the kind of like shell plus green.
That's how I feel. Which is funny, because Jojo definitely does not know about Ninja Turtles. He's far too young for that.
Wasn't there a new movie that came out? Maybe you saw that.
Oh, that's true, actually.
Growing up.
That is true. That's true. I did forget about that.
You have Impact in the top lane as
He knows. Surely.
I almost said Shredder, not Shredder. Splinter.
Yeah. Shredder's the villain.
Shredder's the villain. Splinter's the rat.
Yeah.
The old sensei is what I meant to say. What did I say?
You said rat, but that's fine. I mean, both are technically correct.
Yeah. So he's raising all the Zoomer turtles. There's been a couple teams that have that identity. I don't know if you saw like the Faker memes when it was like an owner and all the young guys, Guma.
Yeah. See them later on in the tournament, of course. Looks like spirits are staying high. Hopefully tinowns turned his monitor back on. That's not actually what happened. I'm sure they've diagnosed the problem. Still bantering in the chat, it looks like. About
I had to remake the lobby for some reason. We are now in a new lobby.
Hooray!
Joined up. They're talking about, please stop banning mids.
I mean,
Jojo can only play Singed and Akali, apparently, if you've been following Champions Queue.
Both champions, very fun. Akali, actually, looked real good in the games we've seen her. Zeka, of course, going off yesterday on that one. It is an interesting mid lane meta, I will say. It is nice that it feels, right now at least, it feels fairly open. We've got, Viktor's kind of back in the mix. We have Azir still floating around, but you can play assassins. We saw Zoe from tinowns yesterday, which looked very good.
Zeka Akali looking really good. Yeah. Jojo's Akali's been banned a couple of times.
Silas, obviously, big banger champion.
Gonna need to put some respect on that one for a lot of people. Very interesting meta so far, except for top lane.
Yeah, unlucky. It happens sometimes.
Aatrox reaction.
Oh well. At least Evie gave us a different look last game with the cannon. I mean, again, like, if Aatrox is just floating around in top lane, which you have to think at this stage is going to be, it is just going to be as many counter picks as we can possibly find until everyone gets sick of it and starts banning it. That's how it's going to go.
That is the question of if we can break into the ban list, because right now it does feel somewhat set on bans, not 100%, but there are clearly the strong AD carries like Kalista and Draven that people are scared of.
And Caitlyn.
You have Caitlyn as well. You have some of the junglers, Graves, Hecarim, and then usually a couple like specific mid bans that they seem to be targeting, like we were talking about already. So we'll see if those continue to be the focus or if they end up getting rid of eventually Aatrox or some of these other things. Like we said though, some mid bans, Talia going over to tinowns, Zoe as well. He was incredible on the Zoe. It's one of his signature champions. No surprise to see that one given rid of.
Ekrim also one of the pretty common bans, has snuck through in a couple games, but for the most part has been banned. Inspired, definitely going to get that one taken away from him. And we'll see what Loud line up here for the second one. How many mids will we take away here? Will Aatrox be banned? Will Sejuani instead? Another pretty popular ban.
Sejuani gone. We'll see if they stick to their word. Jojo said they were going to ban 3 mids. We'll see if there's one more coming here. Or if it's not the case. Loud in their win yesterday. MissFortune, Sejuani, Zoe, Amumu, Diego. Able to dominate DFM in what was, I still think, is the fastest game of Worlds thus far. And it was a really nice bounce back game from Loud, who in their first game, they could have beat Beyond. It was kind of close to the first 20 minutes of the game. People are talking about Brance on the Seraphine not really being what they expect him to be playing. Did miss a critical ultimate in a team fight, and then from there it felt like Beyond had control of that game. But I think there's a very real possibility where Loud could be sitting at 2-0 right now, which is a lot better than I think people were expecting for this team, given it's a young organization. Obviously, tinowns and Robo have a lot of experience, Croc as well. But with Brance in his rookie year, the fact that the finals were very close, it was a very competitive region. Loud was 4th in the regular season. I don't think necessarily people would have expected them to almost be 2-0 in group stage thus far.
No, certainly looking good and will likely to continue that form here. Kalista, though, is the first pick. Jackson, Silas both banned.
Oh boy.
Which leaves Caitlyn open as kind of one of the common bans, although, as you pointed out, actually has fallen through draft.
Draven, like they kind of, I was talking about all the common bans. They hit a couple of them, right? And then just threw everything else out the window. So Graves has gone through as well. We'll see if someone wants to snap that one away.
Oh yeah, Graves. I forgot about that one. There's a movement going to get snapped up here once again for presumably support. Don't think we'll see Croc parting that, but I guess you never know. But MF also going to make the appearance once again. It's the classic combination.
Curse of the sad bullet time. Whee! I think also the Amumu is a bit of a takeaway for Kalista Amumu. While it's not always like super insano in lane, it does make engages in the mid to late game extremely annoying to try and deal with. Getting thrown in there, 2 Qs and an ultimate to try and land lock up the enemy team, so pulling that one away.
Ooh.
Jojo, Akali, and Aatrox slam.
Okay, all right.
We're playing skill, early game matchup. Here we go.
I was already going to say, like, Kalista obviously signals a big change. Champion that Kaori is pretty comfortable on, also just very good in general. Also, you know, Brance likes the pick, so lots of good things, lots of good reasons to take Kalista early on, but this kind of looks like doubling down on that early game aggression here. Now going to have the Aatrox, which did sneak through, and Jojo, this is a big comfort pick for this boy.
Oh yeah, he when all of the world's players started showing up for Champions Queue, it was on the front page of Reddit. The LEC MVP Niski going up against the Akali Jojopyun had a rough go of it. People were memeing that one quite a bit, but it is true that it is one of his best champions. Also for Kaori, he is more of the lane dominant style player, which actually has seemingly suited the world's meta quite well. There's not much scaling focus. There is all early game, it feels like. Even the team fighting oriented ones, like in MF or a Kaisa, are still a little bit more early game and almost like, I don't know how to quite put it, but like spell-based, I guess you would say, than just like the straight auto-attacking late-game team fights like Sivir, where you're just standing there bouncing through the entire time.
Come a long way from Sivir's area, as it turns out, which I could not be happy for.
Very long way since then. So either way, the point is, the meta is very good for Kaori in theory, but it does force EG to change their playstyle from kind of what it had been.
Yep.
And for Loud here, having the Wukong for Croc.
They're just all in on click the ultimate button and win the team fight, it looks like.
It's definitely what they're going for. It is also his most played in summer, so obviously a very comfortable champion for Croc as well.
Like the LeBlanc ban there to try and cover the Akali. J4 also getting taken away from Inspired, who hasn't picked up a jungle just yet. Does know his matchup, of course, with Wukong being selected. Galio, as Tino just getting absolutely targeted here by EG. They weren't kidding.
Yeah, I'm not, like, I can see it for the comp reasons. Your short range champions, Akali, Aatrox, and Kalista are all going to have a horrible time if a Galio ultimate's getting slammed down on top of you. But it's not like it's super tinowns champ. He did play it twice in the regular season, or in summer, even though it wasn't, you know, super high with prio then. He is a very good supportive player, to be fair, but he can also play a lot of the individual carry matchups. He has a bunch of Ahri games, Silas, Azir, just like everyone else from summer.
Yep, there's Gnar for Robo in the top lane. Pretty standard stuff up against the Aatrox. We'll see how that plays out in the game. But certainly, I think Aatrox again, just last time we had Aatrox, a lot of Aatrox at least, I feel like I've just I've seen so many different Aatrox matchups that at this point I'm like, yep, I kind of roughly know how that goes. We'll figure it out later. Hey, there's the tree. Was wondering if we'd see Maokai today.
All right,
in
so
this game.
I'm thinking support Maokai here to combo with the Kalista. Or I'm wrong. This would be a very powerful ball comp. You have 4 melee and a Kalista who's short range. You have the ultimate from the Taric to get thrown down there. You can also get tossed in with the rest of your front line. Sets up these stuns very easily with his WE combinations on any of the other melees. This is a all-in comp though. You do one thing. You go, I guess technically you can split. You might do 2 things, but you go in or you split the map.
Well, there is the Taric there. There is the Maokai jungle for Inspired. And last but not least, tinowns had his choice of counter picks. It's going to go to Viktor. Been old faithful for a lot of mid laners at this tournament. Should be just fine 1v1, especially in the early levels. Don't expect too much interaction from Jojo and tinowns, but obviously the champions do pretty different things, kind of aligning with the comps that these teams have drafted.
I mean, this is kind of similar to what we were talking about for game 1, where one team has the clear desire to push the pace in the early game. Last time it was Fnatic, this time it's EAG. These matchups can all get very bloody very quickly. You can snowball any of these lanes if you're able to find these kills by EG. You have to think that Loud does have a scaling advantage, playing to some team fight prowess. All these ultimates extremely impactful on their side, as well as just having higher DPS if left to free hit as backline members. Puts the onus on EG to either snowball the game to the point you can just hard engage left and right, not need to worry about a clean engage, or you need to have very high execution, get these good character ultimates out, or the side of Loud, you know, you want to kite that out, kind of weather that first engage, make sure you get through that invulnerability phase before re-engaging.
Yeah, you got to pick your targets well, can't bowl up for ultis. Like, both of execution very much on EG, and I guess, interestingly, you know, 2 games so far at Worlds, 2 different drafts we've seen now. The team that is favored is taking the more early game aggressive picks, which you can posit different reasons for why that is.
It does feel like a good bet for that reason, that if you want to go in, you want to be aggressive, you want to assert your dominance, there's a lot of matchups that can make that happen. And we'll see if EG can pull it off, find their first win of Worlds in 2022.
Find out in just a moment. Should be a fun one, if nothing else. Also continuing to keep my eyes on Maokai, especially in the jungle, because it looked nutty.
Yosi made that look good.
Yeah, Posing did not make the champion look very balanced, we'll have to say. As EG and Loud, you can hear the hometown crowd very loud for Loud's win yesterday. That was unintentional, but I see I've walked into it. I imagine the fans will continue their cheering today. They've been great already with every guy in the audience being nice and loud. Continue the support here for Brazil.
And we'll see a little bit of aggression. They can land that blind bandage tossed over the wall. You always have to guess, is it the front of the bush or the back of the bush that you're going to throw it in? Sales tried the front. Unfortunately, Kaori was not even in the bush.
Does potentially keep himself away from that there, as we have a pause.
Dun, dun, dun. We'll see if anyone is typing. There's one thing you can say about EG. There's no shortage of loudmouths. Yeah. They are maybe the chattiest team I've seen thus far in lobbies and whatnot. Pulling out completely. We'll see what the update is if we get one.
Well, as soon as we have it, we'll give it to you. Don't worry, I'm not withholding information from you. You are right, though, about the mouths. Jojo, obviously pretty famous for his...
His tweets are dangerous. I don't know if anyone saw the
the
one from earlier today.
For this game?
Yeah, we're saying their EG will beat Germany for today, referencing that famous World Cup from a little while ago.
That is quite dangerous. Very dangerous indeed. Well, you know what? Jojo never backs down. That's part of the reason we love him.
Doubles down. There's no tweet that he seems to have regretted, despite how many times he has said things like, I'm going to clap Faker, doesn't happen, going to clap Caps, doesn't happen, you know. That's why he's so lovable.
It keeps going. And, you know, Vulcan, of course. I mean, in some ways, he says the mastermind of a lot of Jojo's tweets. I don't think that's necessarily true.
Hasn't been.
Vulcan doesn't have the bravado.
I don't think there's any evidence of that. It's one, you know, he says.
Yeah, true.
Brance as well is someone who I think I've really enjoyed watching him in Champions Queue. He has very much fit in, even though, you know, he's learning English from the Zoomers as they go. It's very funny to see them all popping off, stealing each other's language. Some of it I won't repeat. But it's really cool to see that kind of a blending of all the different metas, all the different cultures, attitudes, just all that stuff that you kind of get only at Worlds, you know, really, where you have all these streams available, tracking the pros as well. Now Champions Q kind of taking that to the next level with everyone on voice comms with each other. It's been very, very cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, like don't get very many international events a year. This is the biggest by far as far as number of teams coming. And even though not all the teams have shown their faces yet, we are just in the early stages of the tournament. Plenty of teams are here either playing or maybe a little early. And it has been fun to watch them all interact.
Alrighty, I got a little update. I don't know if you heard it.
I did not.
The Pause Lord himself, Vulcan, is having a problem with his monitor, he said. Sounds like maybe similar to what tinowns might have got hit with. I'm not sure. We'll see. You can see them hovering over his shoulder. This is the EG comfort zone, though. The Pause is versus TSM, getting them through a tough best-of-5. Now here against Loud, freezing them out. Tactical pause. No, of course, that's not actually what's happening.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So here's something fun. Okay, a lot of pauses yesterday, a lot of delays and whatnot. I always go back and just watch some of the VODs and things like that, you know, see how people are doing. What's always funny to me is the amount of people who say things like, stop talking, start the game. As if you and I want to be filling time instead of watching
or have any control over what's happening.
Let alone the fact—
Which we don't, by the way.
Not even desire, also control, to your point. But here's what fans don't know at home. So people might have seen the trend on Twitch with the uncapped subathons.
Oh, yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, as you sub, if you're not familiar, when you sub to a streamer, suddenly they have to stay live for another 30 seconds or whatever it is, and it goes up, and people donate hundreds, and then suddenly they're on for 11 days in a row, which I think Cadril was recently.
Yeah.
What they don't know is every time you say, stop talking, start the game, there's a secret timer, which increases the delay another 10 seconds. Oh, no. So Twitch chat, if you want this game to start, everyone stop talking right now. Stop typing. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I'm going to watch the VOD. I'm checking it later and seeing if that worked.
He'll check the tape, Twitch chat.
Twitch chat, you better not have typed anything.
And we're back! EG vs Loud, second game of the day. Right on schedule. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman.
Doing my duty.
Not helping to dispel people's potential.
I don't want uncapped pausathons. Uncapped pausathons are not for me.
That's true. That's not the entertainment.
I had to let them know of the secret tech. I'm sorry if anyone is somehow believing what I just said is true. It is not. I just want to clarify that.
But that could not have worked out any better, I will say. It's Kaori Vulcan lining up in the 2v2 here.
Alrighty, so now getting back into this game, like we were saying, very aggressive lanes for the side of EG and with Maokai. Not necessarily, I don't think, even with the buffs and changes that came in, a powerhouse in early game, but does have a lot of gank setup. And the lanes themselves, a lack of mobility for tinowns. You know, you do have to play safe, have your gravity field in a good position and whatnot to survive some of these ganks if you're getting flashed on top of and stuff. So it does put, I think, pressure on Inspire to try and make something happen. We'll see who's getting the advantages. EG playing aggressive level 1 with that Kalista. You can see Vulcan threatening menacingly in the brush. Topside Impact as well, trying to play a little bit in front. Has the Comet as well for a little bit stronger laning prowess. So you see some nice tippers early on.
Oh, nice little one there as well. Getting Robo with the third Q. Now going to trade back. Seeing that pretty typical dynamic. Robo, though, getting a better of impact early on. The E hits as well. Extra damage there just as the transform hits for Gnar.
Alrighty, Gnar from Robo looking pretty good for him. Able to grab a bit of an advantage in that lane phase. Also has the Doran's Blade and Fleet Footwork to stay sustained up. Both of them are going to be able to sustain quite a bit. Doran's Shield for impact. Robo's most played champion in the split is Gnar, so he's very comfortable on these kinds of bruisers / tanks that play on the weak side of the map. That will enable Croc, I think, to have the duty of tracking Inspire, making sure none of these ganks are coming through, especially in the bot side. Will probably be one of the more threatening matchups as more levels come in, but early, the first 3 levels before Taric has his full kit unlocked, a little bit harder to find these ganks. So I really like Croc actually pathing up to the top side here and trying to exploit this Aatrox.
Yeah, diving coming, level 3 ticks right over, massive minion wave there, but Croc's going in, impacted, maybe in trouble there. But Robo getting targeted, Croc looking low, but it's first blood to Robo.
Oh boy, impact went for the flash Q3 on Robo, died mid-air, so the flash goes down, but did not actually get the damage out. Robo leaving that one at half health, first blood onto impact as a massive minion wave crashes. You can see impact teleporting back, but down 15 CS already, trying to get the kill on the Robo here, actually.
Has to fight, damage is good, but the pullback doesn't happen. No extra damage incoming. Redive likely not to happen. I think that's part of why Impact wanted to pick that fight, because the wave is so big. kind of dangerous to thin it with Gnar harassing you, so just going to go ahead and pull it back and try and salvage some of this. But this was such a good play out of Loud.
Yeah, nice trade by Robo to set this one up. Massive minion wave crashing at the same time. Inspire was pathing the other way, so they knew that this was going to be a pretty uncontested dive. You can see Croc got fairly low. Good job disengaging that turret aggro at just the right time. Even if Impact lands that Q3 on Robo, I don't really think that's changing how that play is going to go. Nice first blood from them. TP back in. Minion wave on Impact side. Looks like from the number of minions should be frozen for a little bit, so we'll be somewhat safe now.
Yeah, well, it's flash for flash as well. Robo did use his to make sure that Impact wasn't going to get anything happening there. So he returns back now with the heal cut. It's always nice in the 1v1, especially when you get it early. Vulcan in trouble, though, in the 3v2. Is trouble in paradise. Croc going to get that kill inspired here, but he's far too late. Still going back in, though, as Kaori wants to get aggressive on the Kalista, and that's the counter kill they're looking for.
All right, Inspired salvaging that play. Croc getting onto both side lanes early on the map, having a very good showing so far, but Sales was being targeted down, had a lot of spears into him. Inspired made sure that was the one that he kind of served up for Kaori to keep hitting. They find the kill there. Jojo getting a little low. Should be okay. No mana on the Viktor really to threaten a kill.
Yeah, first strike gold looking good, but Jojo actually feeling fine as far as total XP goes. Interesting. If you hit 6 early enough, he could threaten onto tinowns, but tinowns should have that timer in the back of his mind. Actually calling over Inspired as well. Good flash. Gravity field.
In turret range.
2 tower shots as well. Inspired in trouble. Seos diving back through, but Amumu does not have the damage for that play. Here's Croc, though, who certainly does, but looks like Inspired's going to get away from it.
Ooh, I think Vulcan showing up there actually saved him. Some very heads-up play by Vulcan. If you didn't catch it, he used his execute on the minion to get some of the healing that goes over in gold, and also reset his Q passive. So he was able to get a couple extra heals on Maokai there and make sure that Inspire was topped up and healthy to run away from that situation, because otherwise, very dangerous. Well played by tinowns, getting that gravity field just on the edge of turret range, making Inspired take a couple extra turret shots.
Yep. I like this from Jojo too again. This is very, very common in Akali vs Mage. You're trying to tap the mana pool as best you can. Harass. Threatens there with the shuriken. Could have maybe dove, probably wouldn't have, but just buying a bit more time, trying to get some advantage here because it's so painful in the early levels and Viktor just harassing you in range versus melee. But that's all water under the bridge. By the looks of things, it is going to be nice and even as things reset. Both mids have TP. Impact's in trouble again, though. Robo really getting some mileage out of this counter pick.
Yeah, on the wrong side of the turret, though.
Good jump away.
Has the
Crunches
blast
out of
zone.
there. Boskin should be fine and is going to be safe.
Nicely done by Robo, though, pulling pressure for Inspired to show up under the top side. Inspired also losing his flash on that mid gank and not really getting anything other than tinowns flash as well. Means that so far, Loud doing a good job weathering some of that early aggression we were talking about them having to get through.
Actually up 700 gold, which is very nice in the early stages of this game. Robo gets out from under the chain. Impact did actually pop World Ender there, trying to harass him down more, but gonna have to play damage control here in the top lane, down significantly in CS right now. Maybe gonna take it back here as well. Wave in a decent spot. Yeah, gonna go ahead, go back.
Yeah, nice timing by Robo there, kind of doing a little bit of sustaining off the Krugs before showing back up to get this shove going and make sure that the freeze is not completed. Nice fake recall a little bit there, making sure that Impact does not get that free reset off.
It really heads up play actually by Robo. Love to see it there. Even gonna get some damage down. Oh, he gets a plate out of the deal as well. That's very big incentive to stay.
Yeah, that's huge. Here we see bot side, level 6 early for Kaori.
Ulti, follow up there with the stun. In trouble there for the old Amumu support. Kaori looking for another kill, gonna find it. Even leaping onto Brance for the second, gets a little bit of a slither out of the Rand. Is Inspired popping the ulti. Kaori going up! Absolutely massive plays. Inspired Bramble, I believe, gets that kill.
We're not done yet. Jojo does have the E on him.
There's ulti, last Q is good. Jojo finds the solo kill.
Oh boy, started a little dicey for EG fans there, but they are popping off now. Jojo finds the solo bolo in the mid lane, showing why it was banned against him a couple of times. And down the bot side, we were talking about Kaori being more of an early game oriented player and how the Taric Kalista combo gets more threatening with levels. There you see it at 6, being able to throw him in there. The knock-up setting up the stun. Seos' flash was still down from that earlier skirmish. Easy kill there. And then nice job by Kaori using his hops to kind of kite past the Amumu to set up the second kill onto Brance.
Yeah, wonderfully done. It's Kaori again. They're onto Croc, but looks like EG just going to try and start a fight for this Herald here, but Amumu, ooh, not level 6 actually. No ulti to contribute to this fight, but Loud are going to contest here.
Vulcan has ult now, 6 himself. Support level advantage can be huge in these first Rift Herald fights.
Bruiser no ulti, but level 8, pretty strong. Taking that recall, spending his gold. Impact also on a nice flank angle here.
Yeah, a lot of ults down from the 2 previous fights in mid and bot lane. It should be a situation where Loud do sack this one. Seo's moving into the mid lane. Might be able to get 6 off the wave and then see if he can come back in. Wukong MF ult here as well. Jojo diving in, no ultimate not needed. The flank is good. tinowns the target. Damage is not quite there. The bullet time is amazing though, and impact goes down to tinowns. Taric ulti is good, but not enough in time to try and get up the bullet time as Kaori bubble out of Robo gets the ulti through, and Lauda found the fight they're looking for. Exactly what I said. They move to mid lane. They get 6 on the Amumu. The Taric ultimate is late, and so that allows Loud to kite out the initial flank. tinowns very well played to survive that, get out, get the turnaround. 2 kills for them. Also going to grab the Rift Herald on the back end of that. Now 1,000 gold up and with the opportunity to find some more plates in this early game.
Yeah, basically reversing the gold lead that EG was starting to build. Again, the flank looks nice here, but tinowns just weaves his way out of it. Seos already had it lined up.
Yeah, I just gotta say, that was a good idea by both teams. When the bot lane moves to mid wave to try and get 6 on the Amumu, that's when you decide, hey, we're gonna go for this flank. And they had tinowns in a good angle, but his his gravity field got stuns on both solo laners from EG, which was then comboed on top of with the Amumu after he just got 6, allowed tinowns to kite out while Brance dropped that huge ultimate down. So just a absolutely monster team fight from Loud.
Yep, pays off nicely. Should get even more gold, dropping the Herald, picking up some plates. Maybe even get a tower out of the trouble as well, as Robo taking damage out of impact, but about to tick over back into Mega Form. So should be just fine as Robo continues. Looking good here on the Gnar, still up in CS very significantly. It's 25 ahead right now. Even managed to pick up the last kill with the ulti as well, making sure that I could pick up an extra.
Yeah, Robo having a great performance here in the top side. Mid lane, it's kind of going more EG's favor. You see Jojo with his big CS lead, about 20 for him, about 20 for Robo. So those kind of even out in the solo lanes. Bot lane as well with the kills that Brance just got means that those are all relatively even. The gold lead is honestly mostly topside, 1,000 in Robo's favor.
And as a result, Croc is going to move up here, take out this ward, and look to drop the Herald Wave. It's not quite as big as you might want it to be, so actually going to take the recall instead. But Impact doesn't know that, has to think that maybe there's still a Wukong in that brush. At least for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Robo's doing a really good job of making Inspired come top more than he really wants to. You can see Jojo hovering up to the side of the map, Inspired also making his way up here. They're not sure exactly if Croc is hiding in lane or coming through this pink ward that you have for Robo. So it's forcing pressure away from this bot side where I think ideally that's where they're actually hovering. It's to the opposite side of the map. So Robo might die here. No flash for Inspired.
Flashes in, gets it down, W there, Q lines up the Bramble very nice as Jojo has the ult. He doesn't want to commit it if he doesn't have to, but the damage should be there, never mind. Robo finds a kill in the 1v3.
Oh my god, I was about to say, oversteps playing a little too aggressive without his flash, forced Inspired to commit to it, and I thought, okay, well, he's gonna die, but not only does he get the 1-for-1, he also buys a ton of time for them to drop this Rift Herald mid. The 2-man hitting it down, this should actually be the entire turret gone for the side of Loud, grabbing mid lane, funneling more gold into tinowns as well.
That is really nicely done there out of Loud. Robo holding on. Jojo didn't want to commit his ulti, and Impact just too far forward as the charge even happens in mid to get a bit of extra damage done. Jojo's going to farm what plates he can off of the top outer while he's here, so that is good gold for the Akali where EG are strong right now, but Loud, Croc deciding not to use that Herald top paid off massively here in this game.
Yeah, absolutely huge to funnel tinowns, arguably your biggest late game threat on this Viktor, getting a lot of gold here. I like this setup by Inspired, knowing that there's no flash on Robo, drops the ultimate up the lane, then goes for the flash WQ, gets the chilling smite as well, sets up this kill, should be very easy, but the alt Q W combo from Robo here, excuse me, alt WQ, gets that kill. And for a second I was like, there's no way he's gonna sustain, right?
Robo again, getting picked on though. This is a very nice setup, and Jojo just gonna get in there once again, doesn't need the ulti, gets himself a kill on Robo.
Repaying the fake recall of Robo earlier, getting him some turret plates. This time Jojo sits in that brush, pretends I've reset after grabbing all those turret plates. This is the Jojo show. He is basically highest in CS in the game. 2 kills for himself, lots of solo XP as well, level 10 in the game, highest up there with impact as well. This is going to be critical for Jojo and a big step for him on the international stage to have kind of one of these monster carry performances in that playoff run that they had through the lower bracket when they were going through their struggles with Danny. Jojo had a couple of absolutely monstrous 1v9 games. His swaying game, for example, against TSM in Game 5, he has been stepping up back in spring, they were very vocal that their strategy was feed the Danny, feed the puppy, get him fed, a monster in late game team fights. But that identity has had to change, and they kind of had to do it on the fly in summer playoffs. And Jojo was kind of the guy who became, along with Inspired, who everyone already knew, as the LCS MVP.
Guy's pretty
an
good.
absolute beast. Yeah, but Jojo did have to end up putting on more of that carry potential, and it's going to be the same story this game.
Yeah, and apart from his wonderful tweets, this was one of the big reasons we were excited to see Jojo back at an international stage. He himself loved the experience at MSI, learned a lot getting smacked by Caps for most of that early stage of the tournament. And now going to try and show off here up against Loud. We'll need to as well, to your point. 2-0-1. It is certainly the Jojo show here in the mid game.
Yeah, and Loud doing a very good job controlling turret place, though. There you can see they have a fair amount in their pocket. And here, just lay it on the rotation for EG. And so Loud take the inside track. Brance meeting up with tinowns, going to be able to grab second turret of the game in their favor. Got the mid lane, got the top lane now. Opening up these side lanes. The one thing you have to worry about is that means longer lanes for Jojo to try and find chase downs. I really like the decision to go for the crown on tinowns. You can see Jojo using his quarter belt to pop that one off.
Yep.
But that will mean in these team fights, making sure that tinowns has that up and then giving you extra survivability during that dive that's going to be coming through from EG.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens around the next objective, I suppose. 50 seconds for the Herald, 2:30 for the Dragon. It's an Infernal. Loud already got the first Ocean in the earlier stages of the game. To your point, yes, you can execute in these 5v5s. Obviously, Loud, much better and much easier setup for themselves. So I think at least right now, we're going to see a lot of side lane pressure out of EG.
Yeah,
They do not want a 5v5 around an objective if they can help it.
I mean, they do have a very strong dive comp if you can find someone, and the peel tools, if you can get on top of someone instantly and blow them up, are a little slower. It's like the Amumu ult's the only really instant one, maybe the Wukong ult if you're in range. But yeah, realistically, it's on EG's execution, and for Loud to want to try and get to objective first, they don't have to be face checking and walking into this very threatening EG dive.
Jojo also in a spot of bother, knows there's at least one more coming. Good little dodge away, but Sales found him on the other side. Beautiful setup. Jojo burns everything, and the second bandit is going to find him again, but Jojo had the next ulti ready.
Woohoo! Jojo had to blow a lot to get out of there. Nice accuracy by Sales on both those bandages. Jojo tried the juke back, couldn't do it. The important thing is they've gotten everything out of Akali early on.
Impacto has found a big amount of damage here onto the Amumu. Amumu going golden, and now the TP's back in for Jojo. EG might have found the angle they're looking for. Impact does finish off the kill he started, and now Croc going to get chased down. That means no Herald for Loud, and 2 kills for EG.
I thought for sure that Loud were in a great position after forcing everything out of Jojo, but without the Amumu ultimate, did not seem like they had a ton down. Croc also blew his, and that's 2 of your biggest CCs. That's what we were kind of talking about just before that, was you need the Amumu and the Wukong to stop EG from running forward, and Impact chunking out the Amumu, forcing him into a bad position, the rest allowed stepping forward to try and save him, allowed that big Maokai ultimate to find some kills there. Bit of a saving grace here. Impact's been under pressure all game long, but this man knows how to play from behind. He had an infamous game where he was, I think, 0-6 or 1-6 in the LCS and still won the game with insane playmaking. And here it is again, knowing that this is a moment for him to step forward, CC up the Amumu, buy space for the rest of his team to step forward. They get those kills, they get the Rift Herald, they drag the gold lead back to equal.
Yeah, level 7 Amumu versus level 11 Eclipse Aatrox. Not a particularly fair fight.
That sounds fair to me, man.
Well, Impact took those odds, let's say.
Still had to flash out. You know, you say you take those, time to flash as if you're sales, and there you go. But from here, I mean, they're not out of the woods yet for EG. Still have to kind of keep this pressure up. I think for Loud, this is not the worst spot to be in. This is getting shades of what we just saw in DFM versus Fnatic, where you know, DFM did have a gold lead, and it was still a situation where they had to scale, but Fnatic hadn't been playing great, and then in the mid to late game, they tore them apart. And you kind of heard the analysts that's talking about how, like, that's one of the things that major regions often have, is the mid game over the minor regions, even when a lane phase goes well. And so we'll see if Loud can do a better job. They did beat DFM yesterday, so I do think it's a lot scarier when you have this late game team fighting team for Loud, you know, still only with a Dragon in their back pocket, pre-20 minutes in a good spot. We'll see if EG want to try and contest this one.
Not a bad Drake to get if they can inspire. Does have the ulti ready, only rank 1 though, and Loud is going to take this. So they pop the Herald mid, they're going to try and take the trade for the gold instead.
Yeah, they'll be able to grab this turret with Kaori. We'll see if they want to try and go onto a second turret when they force Loud to walk through this choke point. Impact's on the flank already.
Again, this flank looks good. Maokai gonna set it up. It's Brance that he's been found. It's Impact once again on the playmaking. Jojo's gonna dive into the rest of the team. They'll get one finally as they'll take out Seos, but the counter kill is there. Inspired is dead, and Robo has found himself a shutdown. Now he's gonna hop out to safety because Impact's still chasing. Finds the chain onto tinowns. Brance still with no health. Bullet time, they're going to try and buy some time, but there's nothing left as tinowns will flash away. Actually should be safe, and now the fight turning back in Loud's favor. EG running away, Impact low on health. Croc trying to find the angle. Impact with an incredible sidestep, but will still die to Robo. And is there more for Loud? The slow lands, the ulti out of Vulcan, the stun is there. Jojo's going in, gonna try and make a big play, but Kalista dies, Jojo dies. That's the ace for Loud.
Loud are able to kite out evil geniuses onto their own side of the map before turning around and finding the re-engage. The Taric ultimate not keeping Kaori up alive. Robo finding the flank here. It looks so good for EG at the start. This choke point ultimate by Inspired combo with Impact, finding this massive chunk out onto Brance, but he kites down. They get stuck up in this kind of gravity field Viktor ultimate area, taking a lot of AoE damage. And when Jojopyun goes back in, they're not able to actually finish off Robo. They can't finish off Croc. They can't finish off Brance. Then they get this on the tinowns, but he has the stopwatch there to stop the second Q. Is able to flash out of both the stun that was mistimed by Vulcan and Jojopyun's E. So that means that they haven't finished him off either. And during this whole time, they've just kind of been getting pelted as they were doing all these chase downs. And so now Robo's being able to, as the Gnar, be that annoying, sticky, resetting, Q spamming Yordle. And then right when this comes up, you can see Jojo takes the E off of Kaori, giving them a target. Normally, when you're in the Taric ultimate, the annoying thing about it is there's no one for you to hit. But because Jojo took E2 there, it pulled his ultimate off Kaori, and they just go, all right, we'll kill him first, and then we'll get to Jojo and Vulcan. You can see the head scratch of frustration. The universal sign for that did not go how I wanted.
Yep, and Brance popping off, living barely. Like, he was still in that fight, peppering away.
I mean,
down to like 100 health.
He was a big reason that fight turned, being able to contribute damage on the MF from range while everyone else slowly became the kind of like hot potato target of the moment that no one was able to get finished off. And I mean, Brance, they showed it in that Champions Queue clip about how that dude is an emotional player, and when he gets going, he absolutely can be the vocal point for a team.
And here we are, another pause. We'll again give you an update as soon as we have some information. But for a game that was been back and forth, Loud actually did have a small lead for a lot of it, although you could kind of see EG maybe heating up, Jojo especially on the Akali, finding a solo kill, finding angles. Now, it's Loud have created a significant gold lead.
Yeah, it's up to 3,000 just about on the tail end of that play. Robo is becoming a problem.
Correct.
He is the beefiest member of the team and quite strong himself in terms of damage, going for the Triforce build, and means that EG are very burst oriented, and you don't want to have to deal with a Gnar. No, you want to kill a Viktor, you want to kill an MF, and then the fight be over. But because Gnar is so strong, he's kind of become this third threat who can clean up the tail end of fights.
Yeah, Trinity Force there for Robo, still moving into item number 2. Has kind of a melange right now, but
garage sale build.
Yep, just kind of picked up what he liked. As Jojo once again being hunted, he's trying to pick on a side laner, but Loud know this. They're trying to pick on him, as tinowns maybe going to be the bait. The tower also very attractive looking there for Jojo, get a little bit of extra gold into his pockets, but gonna play with enough restraint to not get picked off. As Impact still getting bullied despite the great angles, despite the good playmaking out of Impact. 1v1, Robo is more than happy in this state.
Yeah, very much a map split situation. They're happy to leave Robo down there while they try and overload the side of tinowns, and because there's so many Loud members down there, it's a pretty advantageous position for them. They've defended that top turret so far while Robo continues to chip down on the bot lane one. This is looking very scary for North American fans. I gotta tell you, I'm sweating pastry. Loud, they got hands. They're no joke. They took down DFM very easily. Here they are going for their second one, and even against Beyond had a very competitive game. Their sleeper looking like maybe the dark horse for this group to get out second, third. We'll have to see how high they can go.
Looking good so far. Definitely a position where they can convert, especially given where they are right now. They're stacking dragons in another minute so they can have a stab at the Hex Tech. Brance has gold. Everyone's feeling good.
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but people need to remember tinowns, the man himself, the kaboom on Alliance. I love bringing that up to troll EU fans, but we are in the midst of our own potential kaboom here, potentially, with how well he and the rest of his team are playing. He is no stranger. That was back in 2014. Was that 8 years ago? I can't do math.
That's correct.
8 years ago. he did that, and he's still one of the best players in CB LoL here, counted on as a veteran in high-stakes games like this, knowing how to get his team to victory. Robo's more fed, Brance has been popping off, but tinowns has been focused down quite a bit. Yes, that one solo still happened, but since then has recovered expertly.
Looking good there. It's 20 seconds till the dragon is up. I was gonna ask you the question, should EG contest for this dragon?
Always yes.
Okay. Well, they're going to.
I don't know if your comp gets any advantages by waiting.
That is true.
And the more dragons you give up is just more power. The enemy team should be scaling better. There's very little, unless it's like a very specific power spike that you need to be waiting for, or your setup is absolute trash, then maybe you should sack it. But from here, there's no real inherent advantage to Loud right now, other than kind of being in the bus side of that river and Robo working down that turret.
This is not going to be an easy fight to figure out, though. We'll say that much. Again, we talk about execution a lot in these comps. EG going to have to find a very precise angle to win this 5v5.
Yeah, tinowns did just lose his crowns. That opens him up as a potential burst target here for EG if they can find the angle. Jojo working on the big wraparound.
Oh, good mark there by tinowns. There's TP, though. Brute forcing the angle on the EG side here. They're actually onto the dragon as well, but Impact going to be the target. Pops away, moves now. The dragon should go to EG, but can they win the fight at the back of it? Inspire gets the smite down. Is Impact maybe just going to be sacrificed here?
Robo's going.
Taking up a little bit here. Is Vulcan looking for Robo looking for Vulcan. Bailed out, though, by Kaori's ulti.
I mean, EG get out with a little bit of a robbery there. Impact serves himself up on a silver platter, loses flash ult for it. They have to use Kalista ult to save Vulcan as well, but you stop the dragon stacking from Loud. You disengage the situation. That could have gone worse. Certainly didn't go well. Stalls the game situation out quite a bit. Does not force the soul point in the future. Gets you a little bit of gold as Jojo, that is a bit of a dangerous recall, gets out. So yeah, that was kind of a net neutral play where like I think EG wanted to win a fight with that double flank pincer they were setting up. Loud did a very good job with their vision control, having both sides flanked. Jojo getting marked by Viktor, like you were saying, spotting the teleport coming in meant that EG could not find that fight, but at least they got out with the dragon to kind of give them probably a 4-minute buffer before we do that again.
Yep, again, did say ask if they would contest. The answer, obviously, yes. Don't have to fight to contest for the objective.
Uh-oh.
And now in the 1v2, I don't know if I fancy EG's chances. Now I really don't with tinowns here as well, but Jojo is going to try and make the big play. That did no damage. But now Robo going to flash out of the way because Kaori's here as well. EG, again, just brute forcing onto Loud, and they're going to get Robo down. The shutdown goes to Kaori, and Impact collects the next kill.
They commit 3 people down, though. No teleports left up for EG. Loud is working down the Baron right now. 2v3 with Vulcan and Inspire trying to stop this themselves, but there's not much damage.
Double MVP Inspire. Can he do it? The Baron's still the target there. Vulcan trying to buy time.
Oh, no!
Inspire got 2 kills. He killed the whole bottom lane, and now Vulcan and Croc are doing battle. Vulcan's not going to win that one, but Inspired with his buddies will, and it has gone absolutely upside down, topsy-turvy here for Loud, as Croc trying to find a miracle steal, but Impact's going to shut the door on that as well. EG flipping the game right back around.
EG know they are in trouble. They start creating a chaotic game state. The fact that tinowns went to back up Robo was a critical mistake by them, thinking that it was just going to be a 2v2 and that their solo laner should be stronger. But the backup that came in for the Kalista, Kaori making them roam all the way from mid lane, as we see in the picture-in-picture, an escape by Jojo probably. Here, the Mega Gnar is timing out. Even though they don't have a good job killing him in Mega Gnar form, they kind of just wait for it to end, and then they can actually kill him. Jojo prioritizing staying healthy. They pop the crown there as well off tinowns. And then here's Kaori, who moved in from mid lane to make this play happen. I don't think they were quite counting on that. So after they get those 2 kills, that's 3 members down there, and you can kind of see the idea of, hey, let's do Baron. But you only have 1 DPS realistically here in Brance. They're taking so much damage from the Baron. They're not that tanky. The Rash brothers of Vulcan and Jojo show up. An invulnerable tree that just got insanely buffed in the last couple of patches. Not at all what you want to deal with. I like the decision here. It looks kind of troll to let Vulcan die, but they kept the Baron leash just to make sure that you could actually grab down the tail end of that fight.
And now Impact once again in the bottom lane, going kind of wild. Here's Inspired. MVP of the last little exchange, you have to think. As EG, with this Baron on the Red Bull Baron power play, are trying to really get this game done. It has been back and forth, but they broke it open in a very unconventional way, and EG are trying to punish as hard as they can.
Yeah, they need to get as much of a gold lead as possible. It's only 2,000 right now, so if you're not able to extend this much further, yeah, that was a really cool play that you just pulled off, but if you're heading into the next couple dragons with only a 2,000 gold lead with these comps, it's definitely not put Loud in the dirt quite yet, so they're going to try and grab these last 2 inner turrets, most likely working down this bot side one right now. Impact taken a 1v1 versus Robo, but even with Baron, it's a tough fight.
Yeah, has not been particularly well. Oh, Robo's just in there. Let's go, man! Gets the Mega Knight transformation, diving in. Not going to complete it. Well done to pop by Impact. We're not going to keep on chasing the 4v4 down the bottom side, though, where we have to focus our attention. EG slowing things down, letting the cannon and the Baron siege up this tower.
Yeah, you gotta give a little respect to an Aatrox at level 15 with Eclipse done underneath the turret, popping his ultimate. That's a lot of self-healing that comes in. Bit of an overstep by Robo there.
At it again here in the picture-in-picture. Tower goes down to EG, but Impact still trying to make it happen. Robo zipping out of the way. Impact is in hot pursuit, though. Hex Gates, though, gonna bail out Robo.
I feel like the Hex Gates have showed up a lot in Worlds so far. It's very early in the tournament, but it does feel like the early favorite for people's pick'ems on most Drakes taken.
Hextech Rift is the best Rift.
I greatly enjoy it.
So I maybe should have gone with Hextech, but I had to capitalize on the memes.
You went Cloud?
I did go Cloud.
Very understandable. Nice use of Robo there. You could see kind of what Impact was thinking, chasing him towards the middle of the map where his team should have first move, but then using the Hex Gates, Robo knowing he's safe. Now he's back.
Fight actually starting off to play. Jojo with the Taric stun in midair. It's going to make it happen. Blows up the enemy Amumu, and now the ulti from Vulcan is going to let the re-engage happen. No follow-up there from Kaori as he does pop Fate's Call, but one kill's good enough for EG.
Yeah, EG able to find that easy kill onto the Amumu, like you said. So many dive partners for Taric to find these easy stuns. It's always been what makes Taric so strong, the old Taric E combos and things like that. People who can get melee range and just give you a guaranteed stun makes Akali pretty broken.
Jojo looking for the wraparound of the century here as he's flunking all the way back around mid. EG just ignoring this dragon. It's only a second Drake for them. They want to fight instead. Not finding an angle, though, going to have to back away. Remember, Loud have a lot of ultis at the ready.
Yeah, they did just use Taric, Kalista, basically every ult but Impacts.
Correct.
Much easier to say what they didn't use than what they did. And so they are a little sketched out here, but they are going to burn this dragon down. We'll see if Loud want to let them out of this situation, though.
Jojo did mark the Amumu, had the solo kill potentially, but missed the shuriken flip. Jojo, though, going to look for it again. Inspire with the ulti coming back up. Is going to go for it there to disengage, but can Loud find the angle? Robo ready with the Mega, has the flash. Inspired's got to get out of there. EG need to be very careful here. It's Croc diving on in. They're looking to make it happen. Ball time's there, but Jojo dives on in onto Brance, but he gets blown up in and amongst the gravity field and Inspired. The unkillable demon tree is going absolutely wild as Kaori follows up with the rest of the squad. Impact going to get tinowns down, and EG going to get their way out of a very sticky situation this game. But Robo, the menace in the top lane, will finally be quelled as Kaori's going off on Kalista.
They will eventually find this kill. The Ren coming through. Soon the hops will be resetting here. Robo's pretty quick. Does have a force of nature, so he try and get Mega.
He's gonna get Mega, still gonna die, but how much longer can he live? Oh, gotta be careful. Never mind, Shield Bow's gonna make it very easy, and Inspired finds the ace.
All right, Kaori coming up big. We talked about how much carrying Jojo had to do this game, but finally someone else steps up around him here. Jojo going in, kind of ahead of the rest of his team. It's very dicey without the Kalista or Taric ultimates. Trying to team fight those are critical, but he gets enough chunk on the Brance to stop that ultimate from coming through. Also puts them very low, and so you can see Inspired and Kaori being aggressive, even though Jojo's dead, finding the backline members of Loud, and then that allows Impact and Vulcan to run back forward through the fight, get these extra kills. Impact finishes off tinowns there, and the rest of the team chases down Robo in that extended sequence. Feeling very good now, up to a 6,000 gold lead, 2 Hextech Dragons in their back pocket. Baron coming up in 30 seconds with complete control of the map for the side of EG. Quietly, we've been talking about Jojopyun so much.
Yeah.
After that fight, you have 7 kills for Kaori and Inspired on tanks. I don't know how he does it. When it's like a tank Vi, when it's Sejuani solo killing like a 6-item, I forget what he fought, but he got a solo kill in playoffs this way. Here he is again, 6-1-8, full tank Maokai, just obliterating people.
Double stopwatch as well for the EG solo laners, so setting up very nicely for the next encounter, likely around the Baron, as you've alluded to, as it does now spawn. But yes, there is something about Inspired, and also I think just something about the tree. Seems pretty good in the sample size we've gotten already.
I can see how in scrims you might not be blown away by the early game of the Maokai beyond just being a really annoying chain ganker. But the utility he has brought in mid to late game with this sapling spam, with the ult zone control, the fact that it's not that long of cooldown. You saw Inspired's ult was the first one back up from EG there, critically allowed them to take that team fight. I think you'll see this priority go up a lot over the course of this tournament.
I think so too, and here we go again. It is Kalista lining up the Baron, getting all the spears in. Kaori, 4 items now, if my eyes didn't trick me. I only saw the scoreboard briefly, but EG are going for a loud no. They have to find the fight here. Jojo looking for the angle, maybe going to delay this take on the Baron. In fact, they pull off completely as Inspired sets up the ulti. It's EG that want the fight instead. Route 1 there happens onto Robo, but that's not the target they can jump on. Reset once again for EG.
Well played by Loud there. The fact that they were able to sit behind Croc, who did a good job stepping forward, taking that Maokai ultimate, as well as the fact this is one of the few fights where I've seen tinowns crown up at the start of it, which I think is very scary if you're in EG's position. If you have not popped that yet, it is dangerous to dive on top of him. You can see Inspired has marked him with the Anathema's chain, kind of identifying that even though the Viktor is 1, 3, and 6 at 3 items, he is realistically slightly scarier than the MF. If MF drops her full ultimate, yes, that's dangerous. But outside of that window, the Viktor is the bigger threat over the course of it, so I can understand them going for him as the priority. But like we said, no crown shattered, then you don't want to go for it.
I feel like there's also enough dive where like Brance has to contend with like autoing an Akali that's jumping on him, right? Like can't necessarily just sit there trying to ball time and expect things to go well unless you find an absolutely incredible position in fog over the wall. Whereas tinowns, you know, got a little Mage Bruiser action there with the crown. He's gonna live, and Chaos Storm keeps on ticking. Like, if you do not touch this Viktor, he will do enough DPS to win them fights.
Yeah, absolutely the case. So I do like the prioritization by EG. I like pulling off that Baron once they realize they did not get the initial setup that they wanted. I think that they can go into this next Dragon with the goalie that they have. Initially, I was talking about having to accelerate the game a lot more when they were even in gold, but now that they're ahead, they should have priority on most of these neutral objectives. They can set up, they can force Loud into them, and then they can probably win that fight if they're able to have these clean executions. But there is still that kind of barrier because Robo has been slightly silenced. He's still a bit of a threat on 3 items. 3 items for the Viktor, 3 items for the MF. They're on those kinds of like big power spikes.
Yep. Also ulti ranks pretty close to rank 3 there for Brance as well, level 15. Which is also a pretty big boost in power. Robo just getting jumped on there. Jojo with the Taric behind him. And that's no Magna. That's dead. Kaori on a rampage. Inspired. Once again into the back line as Jojopyun absolutely obliterates the enemy AD carry. And Impact's gonna kind of kill number 4. And it is only the king wearing the crown for tinowns here to try and run away, but EG are going to storm the rest of the game through mid, try and end the game, as Inspired once again will not be stopped. That CC, by the way, lasted way too long, and there's an ace for Inspired.
You see the power of the Anathema's chains coming through, but Jojopyun popping off against Robo in the mini Gnar form, the stun assist by Vulcan, giving him the assassination potential. Once the main frontline member was blown up, it was an easy chase down sequence for EG to find their first win of Worlds 2022.
Cloud certainly made them work for it, but EG do come away victorious. A chaotic affair between the US and Brazil, but it's EG that finds this first win.
You can see, though, a stressful look for Kaori there on your screen. He could tell that that was a game that was maybe a little difficult, doing a little bit of conversation about it, but you have to be happy at the end of the day. You did find that one. It was not the ideal clean game I'm sure you wanted, but I think it just speaks more to Loud's strength. The fact that they have now played 2 very competitive games that ended in losses. The win that they did have was dominant. I think you have to put a lot of respect on Loud going forward in this group, not even just in terms of the games left to play in the round 1, but I'm already expecting them most likely to make it to the knockout stage and whoever they're going to have to fight early on.
Yeah, to your point, definitely a team that could be undefeated at this point, given what they've showed. Obviously, with the way the game's played out, that is not what happened, but definitely an opponent I said team should be fearing. EG certainly should not have waltzed in here thinking it was going to be an easy win. It was not. In fact, if the latter half of the game looks like, okay, I get what the comp's trying to do now. You got your lead, you're finding finding your groove, your style, and you're getting the engages you need. To get to that point was an absolute celebration of League of Legends in the mid game.
That is a great way to put it. It's a celebration. It did at least play to, I think, EG's strengths. We talk about their team fighting a lot in North America. This time coming through with what is completely a team fight ball comp that wants to be playing from ahead. They didn't have to do it. Made it a little bit harder to get into that lead, but they did pull it off. And then in the late game, you could see how well they could coordinate with the Maokai ultimates, the Taric stuns, the Kalista coming through as well, even when Jojopyun was popped, showing that they have a couple threats that people are going to have to keep in mind.
Yep, I think Vulcan calibrating as well in the later parts of that game, syncing up the ults more, getting the stuns on. Obviously easier when you're playing from ahead. But that first ult did look a little loose out of Vulcan, but I think the whole team tightening up, and once again, eyes on Maokai and Inspired. Somehow getting, I think, 7 kills on
Carry
tanks.
Maokai in the jungle with full tank build. There you go.
Pretty good, as it turns out. So we're now going to hand it over to the Stay Farm Analyst Test to break down this game.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time and Mark. A tentative, nerve-wracking start to the game. A lot of trading back and forth. We've got a number of replays to work through, but as we always do, let's talk about the draft, talk about the pick order. Chronicler, what did you make of this? And did you favor one particular draft prior to seeing the game playing out?
I think EG went for a little bit of a hand-stiff draft, which in the end worked out, but the early game obviously not great. For Loud, when you're against an opponent that you perceive as stronger, which I think in this situation you should, even though, as we saw, they were definitely able to challenge EG. Going for a composition that kind of plays itself, that has very clear win conditions, I think is always a good call.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just like Amumu ulti on top of MF ulti,
So
like Wukong. If you were getting the initial position, it should be a winning fight for you.
Chronicler, if I understand correctly, when you say hand different, the interpretation that I'm taking is that it comes down to mechanical execution, decision making. So as long as EG play their champions correctly, they can win, right? But it's high difficulty of execution.
Yeah, for sure. Because the problem with the Loud comp is that if you're not actually 5v5ing or you're caught off guard and someone gets picked off, there's not a lot that you can do about that. You really need to keep good track of your opponent and make sure you actually hit 5v5s.
Yeah, and one thing I really love is that Evil Geniuses is playing towards Kaori, who is, of course, the new addition to their team under tough circumstances. And he got that Kalista. They played towards him early. He was really vibing with the pressure coming in from Inspired. And so when I saw the early game, quick shot, I was happy. I felt like,
you were happy?
Feeling good. Early game. Look at this.
Okay,
What's
okay.
there
So
not to be happy about?
Okay, so the first few minutes, but
Boom.
now by this point,
and then Jojo pops off.
But now hang on. By this point of the game, we're what, 7, 8 minutes in.
It was
We're going to get to
good.
another fight at 60 minutes. Loud had the gold lead. Loud had the kill lead. This was the team fight that made me feel like you'd be happy, but surely you were a little nervous that Loud were in an advantageous position.
Yes, there was a lot of that point in the game where Loud was really performing well, and the early gank that they had, dive, top lane, on impact, really damaging. But this was huge because all of the resources, the Amumu pressure that they had, was on towards the Akali. Akali TP's right back into the fight. They actually lost their positioning on Rift Herald, which gave Evil Geniuses an opening. And so I saw that team fight. It looked great. It didn't stay for long, and that's where I'm concerned about. So now I know what you're feeling when Fnatic was Mad Lions.
I'm actually so glad you brought that up because I was going to draw a parallel. I think the opening 20 minutes of gameplay, you know, Fnatic in game 1, EG in this one, is closer than you would have anticipated.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I wasn't as comfortable thinking that EG was going to bring it back like Fnatic could, because Chronicler, this next replay we have, I mean, Impact EG ultimately just overchase.
Impact in general didn't have a very good game, and I kind of want to bring this back to a very consistent theme, and that we see more and more the more matches we see between minor regions and major regions. And even LCK teams suffer from this, even LPL teams do, where post-laning phase, you can really start to see the difference. But in mid-game, if you make big mistakes, like these
this.
teams, like this, like just overchasing here into an MF ultimate, getting taken down, and then really trying to hard force when there's already an objective to play for. Obviously, at this point, it's kind of like after the chase, you can't get out of it anymore, so you might as well try to flip it, as they do here. But the fact that they overchased the way that they did in the first place are mistakes that against better teams is gonna really cost you.
Exactly, which is why it's good to learn here while taking a win. So you don't.
That's the important part. They got the win. They got the win.
They got the win, and so exactly, really important because they saw those 2 Qs on top of Brance, and they're like, oh, perfect, we win the fight. But then you're walking into a choke point, as you had mentioned, into MissFortune, into the Viktor ultimate. You're just chasing forever into what is, you know, a really good circumstances for Loud. So
Now, Rez,
definitely worried.
by this point of the game, from my perception, it was like there was a moment Loud were in the lead, there was a moment EG were in the lead, there was a moment that like Loud would throw a big team fight, there was a moment EG would throw a big team fight. The moment that the game was locked, in my mind, is this Baron throw. And I do think something Chronicler was mentioning in terms of like the difficulty to execute the comp. Rez, talk me through this play, how it got set up, and then ultimately how EG secured the Baron.
So it's the amount of permutations that become available on the map, right? Once you need to start playing the map and macro and very split-second decisions become much more impactful, that's where you really see the gap between major and minor regions. And I like the initial thought here from Loud to say they're making a heavy bot-side focused play, we're going to try and do Baron. But as was mentioned very nicely by the casters, they don't actually have any damage on Baron. Because you have, like, you just don't have the setup. If this is a Kaisa, then maybe you get away with it, but you don't.
That's the most Giga Chat Taric move right there. Ulti, because yes, as you mentioned, a lot of damage being taken from the Baron objective itself. And so it was easy for Evil Geniuses to slow them down and just wait for time. The most important thing was the fact that they were keeping aggro on Baron, knowing that it's a guarantee for them. And so, hey, if Maokai left the Baron, just go elsewhere and to confirm a kill, then Aatrox is there for it. So I thought it was good hindsight, I guess, good foresight, I mean, to be able to still net the Baron and recognize a mistake from Loud.
Now, Rez, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you were to nominate your 1+ OP player of the game, who would it be?
Oh, my goodness. It kind of has to be the Maokai. It kind of has to be.
Tell me why.
Okay. Inspired this game, I felt like, set the tone. Even during the mistakes, I felt like he cut losses really well. And then during the big plays, during the big moments like you have just seen, he's the one I felt like confirmed, hey, you got 2 kills bot side, I'm going to confirm kills towards the Baron, while at the same time keeping Baron aggro. I felt like even during the bad moments, Inspired was still performing.
And what we also saw is the versatility of Maokai, because yesterday in the DRX RNG game, it was a really vision-oriented pick. Here you just saw the raw team fighting power and the initiation possibilities, kind of locking you out if you're in a bad position.
An argument could be made that in terms of how it was used in the jungle yesterday, the Korean-style Maokai jungle versus, let's say, the more aggressive style on Inspired.
It's true. Yeah, well, yeah, it's like against the LPL, their vision denial is going to be really strong.
Yes.
It was a close one for me, I will say. Kaori had an amazing game, but very much enabled by the Maokai ganks as well.
Chronicler, I'm going to come to you for final thoughts here as we take a look. I think the gold graph, and you can see that gold lead, plus 3.5k at 20 minutes is significant for Loud. Your closing thoughts for this match that EG ultimately won, Chronicler?
I'm going to go back to what I've been saying, which, as much as I like the individual play of LLL, and I think that Loud drafted a great composition, which this is the type of style I'd always want to try when you're playing as a team that you perceive as stronger. When it comes to actually knowing which objectives calls you can make, how you can trade cross-map, as long as you don't get completely boomed in lane, major regions should always have the edge.
I mean, we saw it play out. I think it was a little bit more tentative, but both games today, Fnatic and EG respectively, fell behind early, and they had to bounce back. They ultimately did pick up those wins, and we are headed to a break. On the other side, we'll hear from EG's Inspired after their win. And before we set up Game 3 of the day between Saigon Buffalo and Isra's Gaming, pastry time. Raise Mark Ruffalo's, I think raise the Ruffalo to help the Buffalo. Just cut, go. We're done.